The sun is a ghost. A pale, useless smear behind a sky the color of old ash. For months, the world has been choking on the dust of a distant, angry mountain. A catastrophe that has plunged this era of the Pleistocene into a volcanic winter. The snow that falls is not white, but a greasy, grey powder that poisons the moss and kills the trees. The cold is a physical enemy, a predator that stalks the open tundra, seeking the slightest gap in a fur cloak. The briefest moment of stillness, for the small clan of Hominid Neanderthal ancestors striking through this dying landscape. Survival has become a single, desperate imperative: find shelter, or be buried by the ash. They are a family of ghosts themselves. Their broad, powerful bodies wrapped in stiff hides. Their faces grim, their deep-set eyes scanning the horizon for any break in the monotonous white. The old male, his brow ridge a heavy shelf of bone, is the first to see it. A dark wound in the side of a limestone cliff face a cave mouth, partially obscured by a fresh drift of grey snow. It is the promise of deliverance. He grunts, the low, guttural sound, and points with his spear. A ripple of something like hope passes through the 9 others. They quicken their pace, their exhaustion momentarily forgotten. This is the ancient rhythm of prehistoric life, a relentless cycle of desperation and relief. As they draw closer, however, a new scent cuts through the sterile cold, with smoke and something else. The familiar, hated scent of the others. They halt 50 paces from the entrance. Peering into the gloom, they see the flicker of a fire, its light dancing on the cave walls. And then, figures emerge from the shadows. Another clan. The ones from the high ridge. Their rivals, their enemies, the two groups freeze. At a blow of mutual hatred framed by a world of white. The history between them is written in scars and stolen kills. Spears are raised, knuckles tighten on stone axes. The instinct, honed over generations of conflict between early humans, is to charge, to settle this territorial dispute with the brutal finality of violence. But the wind howls, driving a fresh squall of ash-laced snow between them. It bites at their exposed skin, a reminder of the true enemy. The leader of the newcomers looks at his shivering child, whose lips are tinged with blue. He looks at the rival leader, a female with a fresh, raw scar on her face, and sees the same exhaustion, the same fear. He sees her glance back at her own kin, huddled near the fire. In this moment of shared misery, a different kind of intelligence asserts itself. To find here is to die here. To spill blood in the snow is to invite the cold to claim them all. He makes a choice, slowly, deliberately. He lowers the point of his spear until it touches the ground. It is not a gesture of surrender, but of negotiation. A proposal. Across the snow-swept clearing, the scarred female watches him, her eyes narrowed. After a long, tense silence, she gives a curt, almost perceptible nod. The truce is made, unspoken, fragile, and born of nothing but the shared desire to see the next sunrise. The cave is a belly of rock and shadow. Life is contracted to the small circle of orange light cast by a single, precious fire. The two clans exist in a state of armed silence, occupying opposite sides of the cavern. The flames a flickering border between them. The air is thick with the smell of wet fur, stale smoke, and the ever-present tension of mutual distrust. Every cough, every shift in weight, every guttural murmur is analyzed, dissected for intent. This is not community. It is a cold war fought with glances. The study of anthropology often focuses on kinship and cooperation, but the instinct for suspicion, for defending one's own against the other, is an equally powerful force in the story of human evolution. The truce holds not because of goodwill, but because the cold outside is more terrifying than the enemy within. Days bleed into a monotonous twilight. The old male sits near the fire, his back to the wall, his powerful hands engaged in a task of immense focus. He holds a core of flint, striking its edge with a hammer stone. Tick, tick, click. With each precise blow, He prepares the stone, demonstrating the methodical foresight of the Levaluvi's technique. He is not just making a tool. He is asserting his clan's competence, their readiness. It is a quiet, rhythmic act of defiance in the face of despair. Across the fire, the scarred female watches him, her own clan's meager collection of throwing spears arranged neatly beside her. She understands the gesture. They are weak, but they are not helpless. The brutal reality of their situation is measured by the shrinking pile of firewood. The last foraging party returned with 2 members suffering from frostbitten fingers, and the wood they gathered was barely enough for a day. No, the fire is low, and the cold, a patient assassin, creeps back into the cavern. A hard choice must be made. To send another party out is to risk lives. To let the fire die is to guarantee death for all. This is the fulcrum on which their survival teeters. For 2 hours, no one moves. The unspoken question hangs in the frigid air. Who will sacrifice for the collective? It is the scarred female who acts. She rises, her movement stiff from the cold, and speaks in low grunts to 2 of her strongest males. They look at her, then across the fire. Their faces masks of resentment, but they obey. They pick up their spears, wrap their furs tighter, and disappear into the grey whirlwind at the cave's mouth. An hour later, they return, their shoulders laden with frozen pine branches, their faces caked in ice. They throw the wood down on their side of the fire, a clear statement of ownership. But then, the female leader does something that changes the emotional temperature of the cave. She picks up 3 of the largest branches and places them deliberately in the center of the fire. The flames leap, devouring the frozen wood, and a wave of warmth washes over everyone. The old male, who has not stopped his work, pauses his napping. He looks at her, and for the first time, their eyes meet not with hostility, but with a flicker of something else. Acknowledgement. The truce is no longer just an absence of violence. It has become a shared, if grudging, investment in survival. The truce buys them warmth, but it cannot create food. The last of the dried meat is gone. The gnawing hunger returns. An enemy inside the walls. And the fragile peace begins to fray. Tempers shorten. Fights break out over scraps. The future has shrunk to the next few hours. Then, a scout returns, stumbling through the cave mouth, his breath coming in ragged plumes. He does not speak, but mimes with his hands. The great curved horns, the shaggy hump, the immense size of a steppe bison. The wordless message electrifies the cavern. A herd, driven from the high plains by the snow, is moving through the valley below. Meat, thirst, life. The ultimate prize for a clan of ancient humans. It is also an impossible prize. A single hunter, or even a single clan, stands no chance against such megafauna. To even attempt it would be suicide. The old male looks across the fire at the scarred female, their eyes lock in a long, silent exchange that transcends language. In this moment, they are not rivals, but 2 leaders facing the same abyss. The survival of their families depends on an unprecedented act. Trust. The old male holds up the sharp, leaf-minus-point spear he crafted. It is an offer. The female gives a slow, deliberate nod. It is an acceptance. A new kind of community is about to be forged in the crucible of a hunt. They choose their hunters, 4 from each clan. A team of 8, moving as a single, silent unit through the grey, swirling snow. Their shared purpose is a thin thread connecting them, but the years of ingrained hostility are a chasm between them. They find the bison herd huddled in a narrow ravine, their shaggy coats dusted with ash. The plan is ancient, instinctive, the very definition of cooperative hunting. One group will harry the herd from behind, driving them forward. The other will wait in ambush, hidden among the rocks where the ravine narrows. The old male leads the ambush team, the scarred female, the drivers. There is no room for error, no space for betrayal. Their advanced survival skills are on full display, a testament to a species built to endure. The doctor begins. The female's team breaks from cover, their shouts swallowed by the wind. The herd panics, thundering down the ravine, straight towards the hidden spears. A huge bull, powerful and enraged, leads the charge. As it passes, the old male's team rises, thrusting their spears deep into its flank. The beast roars in pain and fury. It turns, not to flee, but to fight. It lowers its massive head and charges one of the female hunters, who has slipped on the icy ground. He is helpless. Death is a certainty. But then, a spear flies from the ambush party thrown by the old male's own son. It strikes the bison in the shoulder. Not a killing blow, but enough to make it stumble, to divert its charge. The fallen hunter scrambles to safety. The act of altruism hangs in the air. A silent thunderclap. The beast is now wounded, confused, and surrounded. The hunters close in, a ring of determined predators, and finish the kill. They have done it, together. Back in the cave, the fire roars, fed with bison fat. It spits and crackles. A triumphant sound in the deep silence. The two clans eat on their respective sides, but the invisible line between them has blurred. The meat is shared, divided with a fairness that would have been unthinkable a week ago. This single hunt, a footnote in the vast expanse of hominid history, represents a monumental leap. The record of archaeology can show us the bones and the tools, but it can only hint at the moments when our ancestors chose cooperation over conflict, when they recognized that the other was also hungry, also cold, also fighting for the future. This is the paradox of human nature laid bare. The capacity for brutal tribalism living alongside a genius for pragmatic, life-minus-altering alliance. That small team of hunters, bound by a common goal, was a microcosm of the very strategy that would allow our kind to survive ice ages and outlast monsters. Every treaty, every nation, every act of international cooperation is a distant descendant of the choice made in this frozen cave. Their truce was not the birth of friendship, but something far more important, the discovery that a shared fate is a more powerful bond than an ancient hatred. We carry their legacy in our bones, the warring instincts of the clan and the alliance, and in every generation, we are asked the same question: which will we choose to feed? The story of humanity is not written in the stars, but in the ashes of a shared fire. Is the greatest to love survival the stone in the hand, or the trust in the heart?